What's up guys, Syiler here, and we are back on the Warlords of Draenor beta, taking a look at various DPS classes. I might do other classes outside of DPS, but for the most part this will be taking a look at DPS classes, how they've changed, how the rotation's looking, very important changes to the class that I remember. I might miss some, but we'll ignore that. So this one is going to be taking a look at PvE Ret Paladin. It's not going to be telling you how good Ret is in PvP because I'm not a PvP player, I mainly focus on PvE. So we're going to be taking a look at the single target and AoE rotation, and then you'll be able to compare it to the other classes when we eventually get around to them. Keep in mind, I don't play all classes in this game, so before I make these videos I kind of do a quick warm up and get a basic idea of how the rotation is and things like that. If you see me doing something wrong and you feel like, oh, he's missed out on about 10% damage here, then just add that 10% damage onto whatever my total is, and that'll be roughly where the class is right now in terms of DPS. So this will be more of I'll be talking about sort of the single target, the AoE, the utility, where I feel like the class is right now, and we'll be doing that, for all the different classes. I'll be doing them all on the same pre-mades, which will be a PvP pre-made, and you'll be like, well, why would you do this on a PvP pre-made if it's for PvE? That's because the PvE pre-mades are pretty bad. They're like 590 item level, they're in greens, and they're not very good, so it's hard to get a good idea of how the classes will be with more gear when you're in low gear. So, doing it on a PvP pre-made, the only real negatives are the stats are kind of random. You don't really have stats that are catered to the spec that I'm playing. So some stats will be better for other specs than others. And also I have a PvP trinket, which really only just gives passive secondary stats. So, that isn't the most ideal thing either. So first of all, we're going to go through some of the basic changes. Now I'll probably miss some out, but I'm just going off the ones that seemed important to me that I remember. The first up is Ret loses Guardian of Ancient Kings. If you play Ret, you'll know it's a 5-minute cooldown. It's quite important for our burst, it gives us a lot of damage. Now I believe they catered that with reducing the cooldown of Avenging Wrath or giving it more damage or something like that. It's a 2-minute cooldown, 20% damage. This is going to seem really bad. Yeah, so it's a minute cooldown off of live, so it means we can line up Avenging Wrath with Holy Avenger pretty much every single time. Which one is more worthwhile using? I don't know. I'd say Holy Avenger is, well, we'll get to that in a minute. So, Guardian is gone. On top of that, Inquisition is gone. That was a buff that we had to keep up with 3 Holy Power. It was a bit of a pain. It was, it was just annoying. It wasn't a fun mechanic to have as Ret. And that is now gone. So, rip Inquisition. We loved you, whatever. Oil Mastery is gone. So that hurts our utility a little. We still have Bop, we still have Sack, we still have Laying Hands, we still have Freedom, so we still have a decent amount of utility. But that, specific thing has been removed. Which means, it takes us a peg down compared to some other specs in terms of utility. But we're definitely not bad. Basically what they've tried to do is remove utility from the majority of classes in Warlords, and remove as many abilities as they can in general, really. So, a lot of classes that had utility, for example Enhance, they had Stormlash, they had Healing Tide, their Ancestral Guidance healed for a bit more than it does right now. So those things catered into their utility set. And those things have been removed, so, well, AG is still there, it just isn't quite as strong right now. So, enhanced utility isn't that great. So some things have great utility, for example, Mage. Mage brings, Time Warp, all the buffs that Mage brings, and it also brings a cooldown that increases everyone's healing that they've received for a period of time. So that is a very, very strong cooldown to have in the raid. So, those kind of things make the difference. It isn't just about, like, how much DPS a class does, but more in terms of how much DPS it does and what else is it doing for us right now. So that's definitely something to think about. So Aura Mastery is gone. Guardian is gone. Blinding Light is kind of gone. Now you'll see I've got it in my spellbook, but that's only because it's a talent. They've removed Evil as a point of view, which made our Turn Evil work on humanoids. That is now gone. And instead, they might have made it a glyph, I'm not too sure. Let's find out quickly. I doubt it though. Nope. So instead we now basically have to choose between an AoE by blind, a single target like CC, or a temporary stun. So imagine, you know, Fist is probably going to be the PvP choice, Repentance is going to be like the ad fight choice if there's something that needs CCing, and Blinding Light is just going to be like the AoE stop these things from killing us horribly type thing. And for the most part the tree hasn't changed, so everything else is pretty much the same. We'll get to level 100 talents in a short period of time. Avenging Wrath the same, we've still got Kings and Might. Blinding Light obviously a talent. Cleanse still does what it did before. Crusader Strike, Divine Protection, Divine Shield, Divine Storm, Emancipate. Eternal Flame, which is just the talent. Sacred Shield is still the same, you know, Eternal Flame, Selfless Healer, all the same. Execution, Sentence, Exorcism, Final Verdict is the replacement for Templar's Verdict if you talent it. Flash of Light, Hammer of Justice, Hammer of Righteous, Hammer of Wrath, Hand of Freedom, Hand of Protection, Hand of Sack, Judgment. Salvation has been removed? Yep, Hand of Salvation has gone. So, I can't remember the last time I actually used it, but that's gone now. We still have Righteous Fury, so we can still off-tank. And I can't really see anything else that's been bopped. I can't see anything else that's gone, basically. We've lost some passives as well. But we've gained some passives as well. Yeah, that looks to be about it in terms of important stuff. In terms of stuff we've gained, every time you level you gain like a new passive. So one of them is Empowered Divine Storm. Holy Power Consumers have a 25% chance to make your next Divine Storm free and deal 50% more damage. So we basically have 3 Divine Storms every once in a while, very similar to the set bonus from Mr. Pandaria. It's basically been added in as a passive now to make the rotation feel a bit more, you know, reactive. Powered Hammer of Wrath makes Hammer of Wrath now usable on targets below 35%, up from 25%, so we can execute from a much higher HP. Enhanced Hand of Sight reduces the cooldown by 30 seconds. Improved Forbiddance reduces the duration of Forbiddance by 30 seconds, so you can bop, and then 30 seconds later you can lay in hands. That's pretty cool. In terms of the level 100 talents, we have Empowered Seals. Your seals also cause your Judgment to empower you with an additional beneficial effect, which persists through changing seals. Judgment of Just increases your movement speed by 20% for 20 seconds. Judgment of Insight heals you for 1% of your maximum health every 2 seconds for 20 seconds. Judgment of Righteousness increases your haste by 15% for 20 seconds. And Judgment of Truth increases your attack power by 15% for 20 seconds. So, they basically brought back the ability to Seal Twist, something that was necessary in TBC if you were going to be an efficient Ret Paladin. That was pretty much the only way to be a useful Ret Paladin, was to be able to Seal Twist well. And if you could Seal Twist well, you could do a good amount of damage. But outside of that, no. So, I don't feel like that talent will see much use. It's fun. It'll definitely be cool for like soloing and stuff like that, the 20% healing and the movement speed and stuff like that, and to really maximize it for single target or for, you know, for PvE, you'd have to swap between Truth and Righteousness to get those 2 buffs. And that's like an extra 2 GCDs, and the way we're at is, especially when we get more haste, we don't really want to be sacrificing 2 GCDs that we don't need to. Seraphim, I think that's how you pronounce them. 5 Holy Power. Pardon me. Instant cast, 30-second cooldown. The light temporarily magnifies your power, increasing your haste, crit strike, mastery, multi-strike, versatility, and bonus armor by 1000 for 15 seconds. So it doesn't pick one of them, it does all of them. So that's quite cool. It was slightly stronger, it was 1500, it recently got nerfed. So that might bring it down a peg, it might not be as strong as it was. Let me just see what the current sim testers are using as their main talent. Bear with me a second, I should have done this before, I didn't really think. Let me have a quick look. Ret Paladin. There it is. They're using... They're currently using Final Verdict. Before they were using Seraphim, so obviously Seraphim's no longer as strong as Final Verdict in terms of, you know, T17 simming. Now, take that with a pinch of salt, a grain of salt. That might not be the truth, but usually the sims are within sort of 80% of the truth. So, you know, Final Verdict will most likely be the thing that we go towards, especially with it increasing the damage of our Divine Storm. We're basically double dipping from the talent. We get the increased damage on our Divine Storm procs, and we get increased damage on our Templar's Verdicts. So, and you know, obviously that's a spell we use quite a lot of. Well, Seraphim, if it wasn't 5 Holy Power, that seems like the biggest put off for me, is the fact that you have to pull 5 Holy Power, which is, you know, a lot of GCDs, and then you have to pull more Holy Power again to make use of it, you know, to get you 3 Holy Power for your next Templar's Verdict, stuff like that. And then Final Verdict is the 3 Holy Power, empowers your weapon with Holy Energy and performs a devastating strike dealing 15,950 Holy damage. Also increases the damage on radius of your next Divine Storm by 100% and has a 10-yard range. So, you know, that's probably going to be the talent of choice there. So for this, we're going to run Holy Avenger. The only reason I'm thinking Holy Avenger is going to be better is because of the Final Verdicts, but the simming with Divine Purpose. So let's give that a shot. We'll follow what the sim crafters are using right now, as they're generally more right. They have a better idea. Well, basically they've just tested all the talents, and whichever one's doing the most in terms of sims is the one that they use for the final test. So we'll give Divine Purpose a shot. Normally I've been using Holy Avenger just for that big burst, but I guess they're not as burst orientated without Guardian, so we'll give Divine Purpose a shot anyway. The reason I was thinking Holy Avenger is because basically you get a lot more Final Verdicts. You get a period where it's like, you know, GCD, Final Verdict, GCD, Final Verdict. But we'll give this a go anyway. So we're going to be testing the single target damage. Now, it's been a little while since we've really played the Ret, but we'll give it a shot. So the rotation pretty much remains the same, obviously putting in those Divine Storm procs after you've Final Verdict to make sure you have the Final Verdict buff to really make the use of the Divine Storms, because you'll get an extra 100% damage on it. But apart from that, just no longer keeping up Inquisition and do the general rotation. Exorcism is still our strongest hitting spell, second to Crusader Strike and then Judgment, as far as I remember. So it'd be that order in priority: Exorcism, Crusader Strike, Judgment. And ES hits for a lot. Execution Sentence does hit for a lot, so you're going to be using that with cooldowns and, you know, making the most of it, or trinket procs. But it's not the same as it used to be. The game doesn't use not clipping, but snapshotting. So if you use Execution Sentence and then a trinket procs, your Execution Sentence will become more powerful anyway. So, you know, use it roughly when it's off cooldown. So let's give this a shot. See what we got going on here. So we're going to do the standard Ret thing where we use all our GCDs before we eventually go for the Templar's Verdict. Just so we're maximizing as many GCDs as we can. We got procs, we're going to make use of that. Actually, I didn't realize which proc that was. I just assumed it was the Divine Storm one, but it could have been the Divine Purpose. We're doing 30k damage though, it's quite nice. It's not bad at all. So we've got both procs right now. It's pretty troll. So obviously we'll go for the Templar's Verdict first to make sure. They both keep proccing at exactly the same time. I don't know if that's intended or what, but it seems kind of weird. There's the Divine Storm proc and another one. And another one! Oh my god! All the procs! So the rotation definitely still feels fun, especially with all these procs and stuff going on. It's a lot more like, less like whack-a-mole of whatever comes up, and more like back to the first come first serve type priority system that we used to use. Damage is pretty good. I should have really timed this so we can get an idea of what I should be doing on the other classes. But we'll go for about, how long have we been going for? Not too sure. We'll stop that actually. We'll use this last proc. Actually, we'll use one more. And then we'll stop. Oh my god. Okay, now we're stopping. Let's see here. So we were doing about 20k damage sustain. isn't too bad. Wait for the damage to tick off so we can see how long that was. So that was 1 minute 46 seconds. So for future tests, we'll do about a 1 minute 45 test. A bit less than I wanted. I guess 2 minutes would have been more ideal, more 3 minutes maybe, but we'll do 1 minute 45, gives you an idea of where stuff is. So that was a look at the single target damage. It wasn't too bad. 20k is definitely not, not terrible. And now we're going to take a look at the AoE. So we're going to switch to Holy Avenger, and I'm also going to switch to Light's Hammer. I'm going to use a Final Verdict first, and it might seem weird why you're using the single target spell on AoE. The reasoning behind that is for 6 Holy Power, you're going to get a Final Verdict, and you're going to get a Divine Storm which has its damage increased by 100%. So essentially for 6 Holy Power you're going to get Final Verdict and 2 Divine Storms, which would normally cost 9 Holy Power. So it's definitely worthwhile doing that if the ads are going to live for a long period of time. If they're going to die within like 1 to 2 Divine Storms, it's probably not worthwhile doing. But in this situation, yeah. I've also put on Syiler Righteous for the passive sort of cleave damage. And we're going to give it a whirl. So let's see what we've got going on here. So let's throw down the hammer. And I said we had a plan, and I didn't follow the plan. Fool on me. So we're in 60k burst AoE right now. That's pretty good. Especially if there's times where you need to sort of, things need to die very, very fast. That's not something to grumble at. We're still keeping the damage up there as well. It's going to slow down a little bit. It's probably going to start plummeting. But for the most part, we're keeping about 40k AoE damage, which isn't too bad. Definitely seen classes do a lot worse. We're probably going to drop down to about maybe 30k. Yeah, by the looks of things, we're starting to slow down around the 30k mark. So our sustained AoE damage with this setup is about 30k. Obviously, you're going to get a lot higher sustained damage if you pick up Divine Purpose. And your burst AoE, if you need the burst, is going to be from Holy Avenger. So you're going to have to kind of pick and choose which one is going to be more useful. But 30k AoE is definitely not too bad. 20k sustain is pretty good. 60k burst in AoE is really, really good. And what were we getting? About 32k burst single target. So in general, Ret, I'd say, is about middle of the pack in terms of damage. You'll get to see if I'm right or not when we do the test with the other DPS classes, but I'm going to say it's about middle of the pack. In terms of utility, we're about middle of the pack as well. Better than some things, for example, Feral. Feral utility is a lot weaker now. It pretty much only has Roar of Sacrifice, not Roar of Sacrifice, Stampeding Roar. They do still have Heart of the Wild, but they don't have Trank or anything to really combo it with, so all they can do is literally pop out Heart of the Wild and throw out some rejuves. So they have the off healing, but they don't really have that kind of big sort of Heart of the Wild Trank, which was huge for a raid cooldown. So they pretty much only have Stampeding Roar. So in terms of utility, I'd say, decent, maybe high mid pack again. AoE, definitely one of the stronger AoE for melee, at least anyway. So overall, Ret, I'd say, is going to be mid pack. It's not going to be horrible. It isn't anything like, wow, this class is really, really strong. I'd just say it's, it's okay. It's definitely viable. It's not in a bad position. The rotation feels fun, especially with the procs and stuff going on. The rotation doesn't feel too bad. And we still have that classic sort of Ret utility with hands and bops and off heals. So that is all still there. We just don't have the Aura Mastery. And the kit in all hasn't really taken much of a hit in terms of what we've had removed. Actually, we've lost quite a few spells, but it doesn't really feel too bad. And obviously my bars look quite bad because I've not put everything that could be on my bars on my bars. If I fleshed it out, I'd still probably fill my normal sort of bars. So, the rotation's pretty much the same. And the class is kind of pretty much the same. It hasn't really had any drastic changes. It's going to be about mid of the pack, so it isn't like bad. So yeah, that's been a look at Ret Paladin. Hopefully this video has given you an idea of what we're going to be doing in terms of basic rotation, how the class is going to be looking, and give you an idea of whether you want to still play your Ret or not in Warlords of Draenor. So thanks for watching, guys. Look out for more of these videos coming very soon. I'm hopefully going to get one out every day or two. And as I said as well, remember that I don't play all of these classes, so some of them might seem worse than they are, but that's just me not being able to play them to an efficient level. So always keep that in mind. So thanks for watching, guys. Look out for more of these videos coming soon. See ya.